regulation announced by UGC in 2018. When we were formulating this plagiarism regulation, I also recommended to UGC that we should have a course on research and publication ethics, because starting from our school education till PhD, we don't have any formal education on referencing, citations, and different issues concerning uh, plagiarism or research misconduct. So, in this context, basically, now these two credit course on research and publication ethics have been initiated by UGC, which is mandatory for pre-PhD coursework. So, in this direction, I think we need to understand what is all about research and publication ethics. You all understand with academic integrity, it's a very broad topic which deals with various kind of standards, right, guidelines, regulations, professional code of conducts. In terms of any ethical decision making involving research process comes under academic integrity, and it has different meanings, different implications at different steps in the research. Like when we talk about entire research process, or starting from the problem formulation till final submission of the result, at each and every step we have certain guidelines, standards. Like when we talk about honesty in problem formulation, proposal submission, honesty in questionnaire design, honesty in data collection, honesty in data analysis, honesty in data publishing. So, this honesty, objectivity, integrity, carefulness, openness, reliability, fairness, it has different meanings at different levels in the research, and you will see different sets of guidelines dealing with those issues. So, when we talk about ethics in research, it is quite broad and it deals with various issues, including how to respect intellectual property right, use of various robust research methodologies, confidentiality, which is related to various levels of research, maybe confidentially on part of the reviewers, on part of editors, and also part of the researchers, to bring out a quality publication, and also research ethics for the supervisors, showing the high standards of mentorship, should not misuse any authority. And also, as a researcher, you have certain responsibilities for colleagues, for your society. Like if you believe that this COVID-19 it was leaked from a lab in some country, so that is against the social responsibility towards the society, because you should not do any research which is harmful to the society. So in that way, and like other issues, competence, legalities, and also issues concerning animal care and human subject protections. These all comes under ethics in research. It is very broad, and I am not going to talk about all. I am just going to talk about one topic, that is research and publication ethics. Means ethics related to a publication. So when we talk about research and publication ethics, it is kind of various kind of research misconduct or scientific misconduct, mainly dealing with data errors, falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism while you are publishing your research article. So various issues of co-authorship or data ownership, obtaining various kind of permissions, licenses, various kind of conflict of interest, because it is also important to avoid any kind of conflict of interest, and also various kind of regulation for peer review system, for even for funding agency or the funder, there are certain kind of obligations. And so a set of common rules among authors, editors, reviewers, and publishers to protect integrity of the scientific records based on consensus about standards and best practices, ensures the integrity of the scientific record, ensure that reader can trust what they read. Simply speaking, when you publish an article, reader should know what are your own idea and what you have borrowed from the sources. That's a simply research and publication ethics. Let's discuss it more details. Why we do research? To contribute or to extend knowledge. And how do we do this? By building on the work of others. Means no research is possible without referring existing knowledge. Existing knowledge in front of books, journals, e-books, articles, blogs, or any kind of contents available all over the world. So there is no harm. You should, and I recommend you should read as much as possible, because without reading you cannot get a knowledge, and knowledge comes only through reading, and reading is must. Issue starts when you report your research, and while reporting your research you are expected to put your research in the right context, to show that you are aware of what else is happening, to show that you understand where your work fits, through quotations or other summarization or paraphrasing. So your report must contain an analysis of similar and relevant work. So all these issues concerning literature review or any kind of referencing and citations are important. And in this context, while writing a report, you have to make a clear distinction between what is your own original work, what is your opinion about the work of others, the claims of others you are reporting, and what is actually said by others through quotations or other things. And this work can be anything: idea, description, research, data, opinions, pictures, figures, table, etc. And why this distinction is important? Because not every report you write will necessarily be a description of your own novel original research. Sometimes you will write reports summarizing existing research to solve well understood problem with existing solution, review research. So another important reason why it is important, that a reader, examiner, reviewer should understand while reading your research what are your own ideas and what ideas you have borrowed from other sources. And if you fail to do that, you are committing a mistake, you are committing certain errors. And what are these errors? These errors are generally known as research or scientific misconduct. Misconduct means fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, or any other practice that seriously deviates from practices commonly accepted in the discipline or in the academic and research communities, generally in proposing, performing, reviewing, or reporting research and creative activities. So let's discuss this in one by one. First, fabrication. So fabrication is the intentional act of making up data or results and recording or reporting them. Generally we call it fake data or fictitious research. There are a number of examples. I can give you a few of them. In the social sciences, a researcher interviewer completing a questionnaire for a fictitious subject that was never interviewed. In the biological sciences, the creation of a data set for an experiment that was never actually conducted. The practice of adding fictitious data to a real data set collected during an actual experiment for the purpose of providing additional statistical validity. In clinical research, the insertion of a clinical note into the research record to indicate compliance with an element of the protocol. Give you a live example. You all know IMTech Chandigarh. There was a scholar who went to South Korea, and after returning from, he claimed that he has done some wonderful research, and based on the data he collected, he and his supervisor published 7 articles in different journals, some of the including PLOS and other. And later it was found that entire data was a fake data. So that person was later definitely was terminated, along even supervisor was also terminated. So this is one example, and this was quite reported in media and other things. That time I was in JNU, and this institute was degree was granted by the JNU, so I was closely associated with this case. Then falsification. Here it is all about manipulations, manipulating research materials, equipment or processes, or changing or omitting, suppressing data or results without scientific or statistical justification, such that research is not accurately represented in the research record. This would include the misrepresentation of uncertainty during statistical analysis of data. So basically here you have some real data, some manipulation, or you want some desired result and you are not getting, so what you are doing, you are manipulating various processes, alteration of data, falsification of dates, and misrepresentation. All kind of misrepresentation of the research comes under falsification. And also this falsification sometimes uh, deals with various kind of like declarations also, even not declaring your conflict of interest also comes under falsification. So there are several examples for that. Even in Kentucky, this professor was fired because of falsification. Plagiarism. Other two, fabrication and falsifications, are totally academic fraud, and I say these are the two examples of intentional act of plagiarism, where the person knows that what I am doing is wrong, even the people were doing that or are doing that. But in case of plagiarism, there are certain different points. First, let me clarify what is plagiarism. It is basically an act of stealing someone's work or idea and attempting to pass it off as your own idea. Means you are uh, taking some text or some idea from somebody and you are not citing this, or you are not giving credit to the original creator of the information. That's a plagiarism, and it has different other types of in terms of usage and in terms of detection. One is unintentional or accidental plagiarism. What we were talking about, fabrication and falsification, they were intentional act of plagiarism, where person intentionally know that I am doing wrong. But here, sometimes it may be possible that person may not be aware that he is committing certain mistakes, which comes under plagiarism. And generally, these kind of errors are because of using minimal or careless paraphrasing, failing to document or cite properly, quoting excessively. Sometimes, like we have to be very careful that quotation should not exceed a particular limit. Generally speaking, in a good research, you should have minimum quotation, and if it maximum limit should not be more than 15%, as per my understanding. So, if you have higher quotations, then it is also a kind of plagiarism. Failing to use your own voice to present information, ideas, may not know how to integrate ideas of others, may not know how to take notes properly, unfamiliar with international style of documentation. Sometimes, like, we are not very confident in English writing, so what we do, we just try to copy from multiple sources and try to mix it up, and that's also resulting in plagiarism. Self plagiarism is also a kind of plagiarism. The punishment or the penalties are the same. It may be plagiarism of other sources or your own publication. So you have to be very careful, because many people believe that it is my paper, my book, I can use as much as the way I want. It is not true. It is very clearly defined by the UGC, clarified in one of the notification, that self plagiarism is also a punishable offence, and reproduction in part or whole of one's own previously published work without adequate citation and proper acknowledgement, and claiming the most recent work as new and original for any academic advantage, amounts to text recycling, means self plagiarism. It may be any kind of, like, republishing the same paper, or salami slicing, or reusing data. All this comes under self plagiarism. There is only one exception in case of self plagiarism, that if you have published some paper based on your PhD thesis, you can include those paper in your PhD thesis. That is not plagiarism, because but the condition is that the paper should have been published during the period of research on the topic of the research, and the author should be the researcher should be the first author. In that case, you can use those papers as it is. But if you want to convert that thesis into book later, you have to remove that, because you cannot include those paper in the publication. It can be included in thesis only. So, based on the usage, like there is a company called Turnitin, they did some survey and they comes out with they ranked this different kind of plagiarism and given some computer terminology. It is not the kind of terminology based on types of plagiarism. It is just Like clone means you are copying, submitting something as it is without changing the contents. Uh, and sometimes people use significant portion of text from the sources without alterations, changing keywords and phrases but retaining the essential content of the source, uh, paraphrases from multiple sources, borrow generously from the writer's previous work without citation, self plagiarism, mixes copied material from multiple sources, combines perfectly cited source with copied message without citation, includes citation to non-existence or inaccurate information about sources. Sometimes people try to do this also. So there are a number of ways people do this kind of plagiarism. Based on the quantification or the types of plagiarism, plagiarism is generally we say minor plagiarism or major plagiarism. So whenever we talk about penalties or punishment, we say it is a minor plagiarism, it is a major plagiarism. So minor plagiarism is generally unintentional plagiarism, where sometimes you are not aware of that, or it's a very small amount of paraphrasing, quotation, or use of diagrams, charts, etc., without adequate citation. It is generally because of lack of understanding of principle of academic integrity. Sometimes you are not good in your studies or subject, because many times people do the plagiarism because they are not very good in their subject. They don't do good reading about the subject, and sometimes like you don't declare your conflict of interest or other issues. Uh, Major plagiarism is basically extensive paraphrasing or quoting without proper citation of the source, lifting directly from a text or other academic source without references, the use of papers or like large portion you are taking from some other source, using designs or concept of somebody else. All this fabrication, falsification comes under major plagiarism. There is a not very uniform or accurate way of deciding it is a major or minor plagiarism. Sometimes based on the human understanding or the academics on universities rules or institutions rules, this vary from one source to another source. We need to understand difference between copyrights and plagiarism. These are two different entity. Copyright is basically about protecting the rights of an author, and plagiarism is to give credit to the author. And plagiarism is applicable to all kind of sources, even unpublished material, even oral material. But copyright is applicable only licensed contents, published content in a public domain. Or so. When we are talking about copyright, copyright has certain kind of copyright law. It's a panel under Indian Penal Code. There are offences, but in case of plagiarism, there are not such IPC. Sometimes higher plagiarism can be considered infringement of copyright, and case can be filed. Sometimes people don't very clearly differentiate between plagiarism or copyright. Because I remember in one of the case when one professor, the Delhi University Vice Chancellor was just put for one day in the jail because of lack of understanding on part of judge about difference between copyright and the plagiarism. So sometimes it is very important to understand difference between copyright. Besides, there are some more unethical issues which also comes in this plagiarism, like giving including somebody as a co-author, or the person may not be not very seriously contributed just to oblige somebody. This is very dangerous also because sometimes you come in some kind of situation where there is some wrong thing also. Leaking the confidentiality of the data, use of any kind of inappropriate strategical techniques, bypassing the peer review process, any kind of piracy, abuse of intellectual property rights, or abuse of research resources. This duplicate or redundant publishing is also an unethical practice, like publishing similar or substantially same paper again, or claiming to be a new, even same data using same time. There is a number of issues related to the duplicate publishing. Then simultaneously publishing, you cannot submit one paper in more than one journal at a time. If you have to, suppose your journal, the article is being delayed in terms of publication, first you should withdraw that, only then submit to the next journal. If you are not doing that, it is also comes under plagiarism. Salami slicing or salami publication, like this is mostly related to your own publication, self plagiarism, like breaking up study in part to show separate studies to increase number counts, or that is also a kind of unethical practice. Ghost writing, using somebody else for like writing a particular paper or thesis, that is also unethical practice. So all these things should be avoided. Consequences, it is not just an ethical issue, there are penalties, and penalties for everybody, student, staff, faculty, everybody has to face these penalties. Currently in India, those who are part of university system, like you are governed under JNU, so you automatically comes under UGC. So I am sure you have seen this university regulations. If you not, you must read it. So under that, any similarities up to 10% are excluded from punishment, but below that, above that, there are 3 levels of punishment: level 1, level 2, level 3, and these regulations clearly define what kind of punishment should be given on first offense or repeated offense. Or so penalties in Indian university system is based on this regulation, and in this case your institute has to implement that policy by creating 2 level of academic integrity panel, one at institute level, at ICG level. The director should be the head of that committee, the academic integrity panel, and there should be a department level. So department level should investigate and put up to the director, the head committee, institutional level academic integrity panel. So punishments is decided based on those kind of provisions which have been laid down in this UGC regulations. Just to show you some example, that please don't think that once you got the PhD degree you are free for from this kind of rule regulations. These rule regulations are applicable throughout your life. Even after your death, PhD title can be removed if it is found that you were engaged in some plagiarized practices. See this example, this German education minister has to resign because her PhD thesis was found plagiarized, and that title was also removed. Similarly, there are some doctors in this Saudi Arabia in a city hospital, and they were very regular, right? You can say habitual plagiarist. One of their paper they published with a different title simultaneously to different journals. So, but they were also an impression they will not be caught, and once they will caught, they were punished also. This was the case I was referring, an IMTech CSIR scientist used fake data in 7 papers. There was some example in other universities. Even a vice chancellor was asked to resign in this certain kind of cases. Sometimes people can take extreme step in the disgrace or in the embarrassment. This gentleman Sasei was one of 11 authors in one paper and one of 8 on other paper. Both the papers were retracted, and in the disgrace he committed suicide. So this is a kind of like offense which destroy your life. Similarly, in India, this MPhil student, she did MPhil from Bir Narmal South Gujarat University, and somebody complained that her MPhil dissertation is based on some plagiarized contents. Then the committee was formed to investigate, and in the fear she committed suicide. So we have to be very careful as a researcher. Plagiarism is something very dangerous thing. It doesn't look like that, but it destroys the life. Once you are caught, your entire academic reputation gone because of. So let's talk about what publishers do. Publishers are aware of it. That's why in 1997 this Committee on Publication Ethics was established, which is now one of the most important committee on research ethics. And more than 10,000 publishers and editors are member of that. Almost every important publisher, reputed publisher, is member of the COPE, and this has become a kind of protocol also to identify or evaluate the quality of a journal. If it is registered under COPE, that's one of the parameters. In this case, COPE has given two flow chart: pre-publication checking of plagiarism and post-publication checking of plagiarism, which every publisher has to follow. They have their some have their own inbuilt system, some did it manually also. And COPE has also given certain guidelines, like if it is a minor plagiarism case, a paper has been submitted, author may be asked to rewrite. But if it is paper has been published, author may be asked to correct it. But if it is a major case of plagiarism and paper has been submitted, it is to be rejected. If paper has been published, it is to be retracted. Same time, the institute of the author will also be informed by the publisher. In first case, minor case, publishers are not informing institution, but in case of major plagiarism, institutions are being informed. Like in case of anybody found from ICGB, director will be informed by the publisher that so and so person has been found engaged in plagiarism. So then there will be two punishments. One, publisher will take action, then institute will also take action according to the plagiarism regulations. So if you see the example, like publishers have their own policy, they have to follow minimum guidelines, but sometimes they also take action which is more than minimum guidelines. Like in case of this Springer Journal of Thermal Spray Technology, they have decided these guidelines included minor, intermediate and severe plagiarism. So they have gone little beyond COPE guidelines. Like in first instance, minor cases, warning is given to author and request to change the text and properly cite and original article is made. So it is similar to the COPE guidelines, but they have added another category, intermediate. The submitted article is rejected and the authors are forbidden to submit further articles for 1 year. This is, they have added one more 1 year punishment as not to submit the article, and in case of severe they have added another thing, 5 years you cannot submit article in that journal. So one thing very clear, if your article is found plagiarized after publication, it is to be retracted and it is put under like watermark, retracted, and it become a kind of history sheeter in this research misconduct, that whenever somebody will download that article will remain on the site, it will not be removed, but watermark, retracted will be there. So anybody can understand in academics what does it mean. Retraction means it is plagiarized article. So if you see now, the retraction rate is decreasing from 2015, and the major reason for it, now there is a good awareness. I remember when I joined JNU in 2011 and I started all this academic integrity and guidelines. Even university like JNU were not having any guidelines in place, which is one of the most reputed research university. So you can understand what was the state of other universities. Now slowly things are improving, and that's why this all over the world this is happening now. So the retraction rate is coming down. Right. So now we'll move to the next part. I'm not going to guide you about how to detect plagiarism, because there are softwares available and you require some at least training on that. But I will guide you some important things to be noticed or to be observed while detection of plagiarism using various software. First thing I will tell you, there are open source software, there are free software, and then licensed software. And there are different level of softwares. Like there are softwares required to help in grammar checking or correcting grammars. There are software required plagiarism detection. So my first suggestion to all of you, never use a open source software or free software for plagiarism checking, because they are not of quality and they also create certain kind of problems for you, because sometimes these free softwares misuse your contents. So never use a free software. You demand your institute to give you a licensed software. And licensed software, at least I recommend two kind of software. One, like software like Grammarly, which help you in grammar corrections and good English writings, and that also help in little bit of grammar plagiarism detection. Then at final level, once your thesis or chapter is ready, you should use a software like Turnitin or Original, which is known as earlier known as Urkud. Uh, so undoubtedly, these are the three softwares used authenticate Turnitin or Original. When I was in GNU, I subscribed Turnitin and I extended the access to ICGB and other institution. I don't know if it's working or not, but Turnitin is one of the best software. And why it is best? Because quality of a software is being judged on the basis of three parameters. First is the databases for content matching, and Turnitin is connected with the Crossref, which is one of the largest resource contents in the world, and also Turnitin has its own databases also. Second important thing is languages. It supports more than 27 languages. I don't know if some languages have increased in the recent years. So that's also because you are able to check contents in various languages. Suppose somebody is translating from one to another language. Third important feature of this good quality software is it should be user friendly, and Turnitin in that way is quite good because you have option to choose the settings, and even it help you in many other areas like e-raters and other things, grammar, because you can compare also the original, which is not possible in original. So in that way Turnitin is the best. What are the advantages of a plagiarism detection software? It helps in plagiarism checking, help in citation verification, in peer review system. But also we should remember that every software, how good it may be, there are certain limitations. Like there are no softwares available which can check the contents in Indian languages as of now. Good quality softwares are not there. Various kind of mathematical formulas, tables, graphs, images, still there is a problems. They can't give you a report on that. So, but with this limitation also you need to use a good quality software. Another important feature of the software you should know is what to be excluded, because every internet has so many things, and when you check through any plagiarism detection software, it will give you similarity for each and everything available on the internet. But some of things are not to be included in the plagiarism. Like what to be excluded? One is the bibliographies, quotations. There are in like UGC regulation, they have also given 14 consecutive words are also excluded from this kind of like plagiarism checking. Coincidental, common knowledge. So you should know all these are excluded from, and some kind of like unavoidable or some kind of something common materials and methods. There are certain things which why 10% similarities are excluded from punishment. We have a lot of discussion because I was a member of that committee which debated for 2 years. We discussed about these regulations, and I very clearly told them that there are certain things which are unavoidable, and we have to keep some limit for exclusions, and we ultimately decided to fix the 10% exclusion limit for that. Now, what is other thing important in that? That when you generate this plagiarism detection report, which is called a similarity report or originality report, you should know how to analyze that report, because this left side, right side is this your similarities to your contents. Now each and every similarities need to be compared, and these similarities may be because of wrong citation, incomplete citation, maybe because of missing citation, it may be because of common knowledge, it may be because of certain coincidental terms or something you have copied something also, that may be the possibilities. So each and every similarity need to be analyzed and to be corrected, and you have to ensure that after analyzing the entire context, similarity should be reduced to less than 10%, because these are the mandatory regulations and guidelines. Also remember that 0% is the limit but may not be possible to achieve it. Any similarity can be plagiarism. All similarities may not be plagiarism. So keep it in mind. And sometimes the research student and the supervisor are the best people to decide on certain things which nobody else can, even machine cannot give you that kind of idea like this is a plagiarism or not. So that's why these 10% similarities are there, right? So the next part of my presentation, I would like to give you some tips how to avoid plagiarism, because prevention is the best. See, my suggestion is that simply be honest in writing your thesis or paper, because nobody is expecting you to write like an expert from the first day onwards. Research writings are improved basis of your experience, basis of your expertise, and also becoming a more and more knowledgeable person, because it links with two most important things. One is your knowledge which comes through experience, and second is that like your writing skills. So in that way, I think if you write something which may not be of best quality, should not worry about that, but you must start writing something, and must know about what I am talking right now, what is plagiarism, how to detect, how to avoid. And it's very important to read the guidelines. Many times, when we want to publish an article, what we do, first we write an article, then we look for a journal. I think that's the wrong way. First, we should decide and choose a journal in which we want to publish. And how to choose a journal? I am having a YouTube channel in the name of Professor Ramesh Gaur. So my at least hundreds of my talks are there, and one of the talk is how to choose a quality journal. So you can go through that. In this I have suggested that first thing is that you decide that you want to publish in open access journal or in commercial journal, which is now, earlier it was print, now print, or a hybrid journal. After that you should use certain kind of databases like Elsevier is having, Springer is having, Journal Suggester, Journal Finder. So you choose a journal, and what is required to choose a journal? Two things: summary, abstract, and title. That's all. You don't require to write a full article. So first you prepare a small summary, the abstract and a title, and then use that to look for a relevant journal in your area of interest. And after choosing that journal, and then there are a number of other criteria to do journal, like it should be good in your field, it should be reputed journal, good publisher. So after choosing that journal, what is next thing you require? If you are going to work in university system, or you want to claim research score in university system, UGC has a kind of program called UGC care list. So that journal which you have selected should be part of UGC care list. So my talk also give you an idea what is UGC care list and how to choose and how to select that. So that also you should know, and you also understand that all this knowledge about research methodology or various kind of other citation referencing, you should attend some kind of training program, and this 2-credit course on research and publication, I think almost all these topics are covered. Another is the reading is very important. Like most of the time we just see that what we are reading or what we have been taught in classes, that is enough, but that is not enough. You have to further enhance your knowledge through various kind of readings, and reading is an art. And also you need to understand, you should not read just textbook also. There are different supplementary reading or different things. Like I always believe that we must read biographies of the eminent people from all fields. So that give you different ways of how to deal in life. Like I've been very prolific reader in that context, and I love to read. Even I have read biographies of the people who are industrialists, uh, people like Vivekananda, and also like the current eminent scholars. So actually, many times you get a lot of idea how to deal things in your life. So, and that those things give you certain kind of relaxation from your continuous subject studies also. Sometimes you need a relaxation or break. So for relaxation and break, you also need to you require to read certain things which are not part of your course curriculum. It may be something else. And you should have a software account in nowadays social media is very important. So all these kind of social networking tools, research forums, you should be part of that. And first thing I would like to recommend to you in this regard is this ORCID. ORCID is free, and it is a kind of researcher registry. Earlier we used to I think we know Thomson ID or Elsevier researcher ID, but now this has become a unique ID and it is accepted by everybody. It is good for your citation, enhancing visibility of research. There are a number of advantages of that. So you must have an account. If you don't have, then you are missing something. You must have. Like even you want to submit an article, if you have an ORCID account, you need not to provide your complete profile. You just provide ORCID ID. The publishers are connected and just allow publisher to access your ORCID profile, and automatically they will know about you. So it is very important, and you must have this account. Then you should be part of this ResearchGate or Academia, Faculty 1000. There are so many such forums which provide you number of resources which are not part of your library subscription. It also provide you number of connections with the researcher in your field. You know the research in progress, and you also establish links with them. And once you publish your article, you can upload your article here also. The people from the different field also have an opportunity to read it. So you should be part of these also. You should be part of other forums like LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is also giving sometimes many things. So let's talk about like how to integrate the sources, because plagiarism is happening when we are using other sources. So integrating sources while you're writing or while writing your paper, you must know like what need to be used for research writing. So while integrating these resources, you must integrate it into your argument in a way that makes it clear to your reader not only which idea comes from that source, but also what the source is adding to your own thinking, what the source is doing in your paper. So basically it is important to understand what is the role of that particular text or idea you are using from other source in your paper. It should be some kind of linkages, some kind of connection. Either it is giving some background information, either it is raising a question, either it is providing some kind of provocative quotation. Some way it is connected to your idea. It is not to increase the number of words. Any quotation, summarizing, paraphrasing is always to enhance the quality of your research, to justify, to give some evidences. So you have to very clear about the role of the source you are adding into your writings, and which part of the source is relevant to your writings. It is paraphrasing, it is summarizing, it is some kind of quotation. So that you have to really understand, and please be careful that sometimes adding multiple sources doesn't add value to it. Sometimes it makes more complex. So you have to be very careful. It is not nobody is going to impress that you add large number of quotations or large number of references in your article. It is only reference citations are required which are very essential in your writings. And when you start writing paper, always first make a draft, and try to understand where I need to put quotation, where I need to some kind of summary or paraphrasing. And also you should take help from your senior subordinate. There are only 3 ways of adding some other sources: summarizing, paraphrasing, quotation. There is no other way. So you have to very clear how you can use other sources. When you summarize, you provide your readers with a condensed version of an author's key points. A summary can be as short as few sentences or much longer, depending on the complexity of the text and the level of detail you wish to provide to your readers. But remember, even after summarization, you have to cite the source, because idea does not belong to you, it belongs to somebody else. In paraphrase, it is a restatement in your own words of someone else's idea. Sometimes we feel like by changing few words it is enough, but that is not true. You must change both the words and the sentence structure by changing the order and structure of the sentences, using synonyms, different forms of the words, may change the voice or perspective. But you should not change the contents. Contents remain same, only the language, the structure has to be changed. So that way you can avoid the plagiarism. But even after reparaphrasing, you need to cite the sources, because idea belongs to somebody else. Third thing is quotation. But before using quotation, we must know what is quoting, how to quote, when to quote, how much to quote. How do I incorporate quotation in my paper? Quoting within quotes. How do I include long quotes in my paper? Single versus double quotation, punctuating quotation. If you are doing manual referencing, there are two ways of doing referencing. One is that you are using some citation tools, reference management tools like Mendeley and Note. In that case, these things are not mandatory to remember. Understanding is good, but softwares take care of such things, like when you use quotation. But there are certain things which you must know. First thing is when to quote. So the basic rule of thumb in our discipline is that you should only quote directly from a text when it is important for your reader to see the actual language used by the author of the source. There are a number of other reasons. So you should be clear that when you should use quotation. Second, how much? There is no limit. Internationally speaking, up to 4 words there is no citation required. But like here UGC has given like regulation that up to 14 consecutive words even you can skip it. But beyond that you have to cite. So if your quotation is up to 39 words, it should come into the quotation marks, closed in quotation marks. But if it is more than 39, means 40 or more, it stands alone without quotation marks and is indented 5 spaces from the left margin. But if you use the automated citation tool, they automatically take care of such things. But you should know it. You don't require anybody's permission to make a quotation, because under right to quote or right of quotation or quotation right, it is one of the copyright exception provided by the Verne Convention Article 10. So when you are quoting something, you don't require permission of the author or publisher in that context. When to use single quotation, double quotation, better to use automated citation, so you should not have trouble in doing that. When to punctuate, all these things should be in your understanding, that how to use all those things. Beside these 3 things, there is one thing which is don't require to quote, is something called common knowledge. If something, a well-known fact, information that is likely to appear in numerous sources and to be familiar to large number of people, in this case you don't require to cite the source, you can skip it, but you must be 100% sure that this is a common knowledge. Definitely sometime you may not be sure, so then your plagiarism detection can help you in understanding it or explaining it. Some example of common knowledge, like smoking can cause respiratory disease such as emphysema and cancer. There may be certain things like this, you can skip it. Now next thing which is important to understand in this category is when you work in group, some assignments and assigned practical tasks require you to work in groups. Sometimes you will submit a single piece of work as a joint report. Other times you will work together but submit separate reports. In both the cases, you need to acknowledge your all collaborators. All group members need to be acknowledged in both the cases. This I have already explained you that a research student can include his her paper in thesis if you are the first author and you have published the research during the period of the research on the topic of the research. Now the last thing in this lecture I would like to explain it to you is the referencing. See, this is a very important thing, and this is the first thing everybody should know it. In our education system, still we are lacking that kind of awareness. I know yesterday one of my nephew, he is a director of University Library in Australia. His son is studying there in some school, he is in class 4. And now in Australia in a school, when he is given assignment and something, the teacher is telling that student that you have to cite the source, and the student at class level 4. And in our education system, till graduation level students are not aware that, because how it came, he quoted his example that he did BTech from India and then he went for masters in Australia. So what he did, he was asked to submit a paper, and he did the same thing what he did in BTech in India. He copied from Google and other sources and submitted the research paper, and he was failed in that because they were using all kinds of tools to check it. So he was saying that it was so embarrassment for him that he was not aware of anything called referencing or citation, and he was a BTech from a college in India, in a well-reputed college. So that's the problem, like referencing is must. So my suggestion is that we must understand all these terminologies. What is citation, how to cite source. This is, in our literature is available, although automatic reference tools take care of this, but it is better that all these terminologies I have put it on the slides must be known to you. And basically, when we talk about the citation, we need to understand that citation is simply giving credit to the source. And how to give the credit to the source? By providing the details of that source in terms of bibliographic details, author, title, year of publication, or all other relevant details. And to provide this detail, professional association has developed certain kind of standardization. And what are these known standardization called? Citation styles. Like every discipline has different way of giving that citation, and like some of the highlighted ones are the very popular one, like Modern Language Association, MLA or APA or AA. So basically there are hundreds of such citation style. It is very difficult for you to remember. Sometimes it's very difficult, because like how complicated is it? It looks simple but not simple. Like if you talk about MLA citation style, this is a book title, and here the year of publication is in and. This is the MLA citation. If you go to APA, rest is same, but only thing this year comes along with the surname in bracket. Now all these kind of things you can avoid very simply without botheration. And what you need to do, you need to choose a automated citation tool. There are a number of the tools. I just give you a few of examples of few of them. EndNote is available free of cost with Web of Knowledge, Web of Science subscription. If you are having subscription to the Web of Science, it is automatically part of that. But if you don't have, then you have a option to go for an open source tool, and Mandy is one of the very good tools. And this have two basic version, module, not version, desktop and web module. Desktop module is not having any limitation of space in open access. In Mandy web version, the space limitation is 12 gigabytes. So what you can do, you can put all your data on the desktop and keep the active data on web version, so that way you can manage the resources easily. It is a very, very important social networking platform also. It helps you in various ways of connecting with the research, and it also helps you in annotating a PDF file. But first thing, it is a very good research organizer. Like you create this folder and put all your readings, your writings, your published material, or all kind of research, reading, writings can be placed in this window, in this. And what is the advantage? Like you are doing PhD and your thesis will be submitted after 5 years, 4 years. Now during that 4 and 5 years you will be reading hundreds of references. Now how to remember it, where to keep it? Sometimes you take the photocopy and it is misplaced. So when you are writing your thesis, you will not be remembering which source. You know the idea, but you don't know from where you have copied it. So what is the best way of dealing with that? Download your articles in Mendeley directly. Don't download it on hard disk. Another advantage, if your hard disk crashes, this will remain in your folder, because when you log in, your account is there and you can automatically take care of that. Because some of your things will be saved on a web version also. Whatever is in the web will be saved. Another is like when you want to read, instead of simply reading that particular on the hard disk, you open this in Mendeley and start reading this PDF file. And it has a very good annotator. You can highlight, you can mark, you can give some comments in that also. And like suppose you have selected something for quotation. Select that and put Q on that. So when you close the file, it is automatically saved. And when you will be writing your thesis, it will remain saved in your folder. And when you start writing your thesis in MS Word, open the file in MS Word, start writing, and now you want to insert that quotation, click on there is a plugin available from MS Word to Mendeley, click insert quotation, you will be connected to the Mendeley, and open this file, select that quotation. The quotation will be automatically inserted in your the thesis file. Same time numbering will be given, reference list will be generated. Moreover, like today you are using citation style which is MLA, but somewhere you want to submit an article where APA style is required. So when manually you have to do entire rearranging of the citation style. In this case, just go change citation style. A click of button you can change from MLA to AP. You are not required to do anything. So this is the beauty of these reference management tools, and I suggest if you have not gone under training, you should organize a training on this particular Vidhi. You can invite somebody from JNU, or I think you can do it. This is something very useful tool, and somebody from faculty can do it, and this must be known to everybody. Zotero is another tool, but in my opinion, because Mendeley is supported by a very big publisher like Elsevier, it has new version and updated version, so Mendeley will be much better. So here I would like to close it and maybe open to the question answer or discussions. Definitely plagiarism is a serious issue. It needs serious attention at all levels, and I'm telling you that it is not something can't be stopped. It can be stopped. It is because of mostly because of unawareness, because I know when I was in JNU, I have interaction with so many students, and I used to talk to them that why so much similarities are there. Many times it is because they were not knowing the various kind of referencing and citation tools, and they were not aware that, like many people, when I deliver these talks, many people believe that I have given the reference, now I can copy as much as I want. So those kind of unawareness is a problem. So I think it is the responsibility of the institute and the authorities to help the student in avoiding plagiarism. I don't think anybody want to do plagiarism. Everybody want to have a quality paper, because quality research help you in getting better job opportunities and also a kind of like a good career. With this I close my talk, and will be happy to take up your question answer. I will be happy to circulate this. I have already given this PPT to Nidhi, and it can be circulated to all students. I don't have any problem, because I always freely circulate this kind of material. And once again I remind you, I have my YouTube channel where hundreds of my talks are there like this, so you can benefit them also. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is my email ID. If you have any question or clarification, you can. No, that is in it. The addition. That is that's why this 10% limit has been reduced. There are two ways, right? There's something which is universally accepted. That, like, I give an example that if it's a student paper, that can be included. So it may be 20%, but that is not included in the similarities because it is universally, similarly common knowledge. It doesn't include in the 10%. Similarly, like there is a common methods or materials that also generally not included in the plagiarism. But it is on the judgment of the editor and reviewer how they consider it. Like you may be considering this as a common, like you have written two papers and there's same method in both the papers. So you can give the citation that this my paper, and so if they agree to that, then they may not consider it. But it on the intellect and also the wisdom of the reviewer, examiner, and the referee. Because these commonalities are like subjective. There are no clear-cut guidelines for these commonalities. I don't think a student should look into that because basically the best way to deal with is the professional discussion between researcher and the intellectuals. But these many of these free sites always create a lot of more confusion and because they take ideas from various sources, but it all depends upon the prevalent practices in that particular institutions. Area and it like there you will find a lot of difference between social sciences and sciences and humanities because according to the subject discipline the some so like in some discipline people do more quotation, in some more summarization or paraphrasing, but there are certain area where findings or conclusions or abstract which is zero tolerance. There should not be any similarity. That should be known to everyone. That's something I missed to tell you. Zero tolerance in that formulas and everything. Something which is you are supposed to generate your idea. Then there is no help accepted in that because recommendation you cannot somebody else's recommendation. You have to put your own recommendation on that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.